Hi, Joe Glavin with City Floor Supply. Welcome to our Hummel edition of our Facebook Live. Essentially what we're going to do is unpack the Hummel from Lagler right out of the crate. We did open the tabs so that you guys wouldn't be bored with total, and we did undo some screws. But other than that, this is exactly how a Hummel will come shipped to you if you were to order online. And we're going to go through how to set it up. I'm going to go through pretty much in this whole session. I'm going to go through wheel leveling. I'm going to go through belt tracking. We're going to take the top roller unit out in this machine. We're going to take the drum off. Just a bunch of things to show you the standard field maintenance that you can do on this machine with the toolkit that comes with it. We will check V-belts if you take your motor off to carry it in separately and put it back on. Just, you know, what the deflection's supposed to be on the V-belts. All of that stuff. We'll cover that today in our Facebook Live session. So we got my brother Mike. He's going to help me lift it out of here. But we'll get a view of what's inside the case here. So the control rod and the dust stack are all one unit on the Hummel. We're going to clip this off once we're ready, and then we'll assemble it to the. And we've got cable, comes from Germany, so it's 25 meters of cable. It's 10 meters of cable. This is our little kit. That's our tool kit. Everything, every bolt, nut, Allen screw on this machine can be handled with this kit. We have a cord holder that'll help us keep the cord out of the way so we don't have to drape it around our neck. Emergency cutoff. We'll hang that on the dust stack once we get everything assembled, and then it ties into the motor here. And a safety belt. This takes all the tension off the back of your neck and upper shoulders and puts it down on the waist where all your strength is when you're walking backwards. Dust mask. Dust bag tie clip. And dust bag. I guess that's a cord hook. Yeah. That's a cord hook to assemble to the cord holder. Alright. So we got a strap in the front that we've already undone. Actually, you can keep a lot of this stuff and use it as a security in your van. Once you're coming in and out of the job, you can put it back in the van. A lot of guys will disassemble this and use the base as a storage point for the unit in their van so it's not rolling around. You got that? That piece of wood will fall out. Go to your left. The
wood's still there.
Okay. So we have a bunch of manuals, operating instructions, parts lists, warranty information. So this. Okay, so let's see here. Move this. See it better. So what I'm doing is lining up the dust tube and the control rod. Now, you definitely want, the factory has a stop here for the control rod. That's where it's going to end into the lower linkage. And so you can see that control rod moves in there pretty easily. We just tighten up the wing nut. Clamp down on the dust stack. Sure it's lined up. And that's it. It's pretty painless. One of the issues that a lot of guys will have when they assemble this unit is they won't have this set all the way down, or this set screw on this collar has moved or loosened and it's moved. So you'll find that you have a gap there, and when you come up, you don't get it up all the way, and you'll hear the paper dragging. Just know that your drum's not set right. So get that set down, clamp it in, and then we're good to go. So what I'm going to do first is just give you a little run around on the piece of equipment. I've got to put the safety stop-start on. This unit, when this is depressed, the unit shuts off and it won't start again. You twist it to release it, and there's a switching system in here, and it really is just a safety. If the machine ever shuts off on you because you blew a breaker or popped a breaker, then you know that you have to go back, reset it, and then put it into the working spot on the switch. And I'll go over that switch in a second. But they got this lined up, black arrow, black arrow. Make sure we're open. We're good there. We got a dust bag. So I'm not going to throw the dust bag on just yet, but you know, the Huggable Dust Bag, pretty large, holds a lot of dust. Really should only fill it about halfway though. Safety belt, pull back, it releases it, hook it in, disconnect it, and again, like I was saying, when you're walking the unit over a lot of square footage, you will find that this is your friend. It really does help your back. You get to use your hips and your legs to pull the machine back. Not so much on the climb cut, but on the cut that's going to remove material, meaning the drum sanding is this way and you're walking backwards. It really does help. And then simply to get out of the machine, if the machine ever gets away from you, you just pull it off. So there's your safety belt. Cord hook simply just sits in, lays down, flips to either side, and you just use this unit here to feed a loop up through, double it up, and fold it over your cord, and then it keeps it away. So I do want to show this. This is every tool that you need to make any adjustment to this piece of equipment. So we have our wheel leveling tool, obviously box wrenches and open end wrenches for any of the nuts and bolts on there, Allen head screws, and then the drum wrench. Man, I'd say about 15 years ago there were two different wrenches. This was always a 12-inch machine wrench. It's now multi-purpose because the 12-inch drums were deep, the nut was in real deep, and the 8-inch Hummels, the nut was shallow. So we have a dual-purpose wrench now.
You got Allen set for opening the door.
Yeah. So anyhow, we're going to check the belts. That is the drive belts, not the sanding belts. So and this is like most machines. I always tell guys, about a 1/4 of an inch deflection in this for tension is good. Too tight and you'll eat up belts and you'll get a lot of vibration. Too loose, and when you think the machine isn't sanding because the motor's dying down, it's actually because the drum is slipping inside the belt, and the motor can't drive it. So I would just make sure you get about a 1/4 of an inch deflection. One of the neat things you can do when you're loosening up this eye bolt to take the machine apart and get the motor off, you're going to take these 2 hand nuts off. You're going to loosen up the eye bolt, lower the motor down, take all the belts off, and the motor will pull right out. Obviously, you're going to take your emergency stop switch out. When you're reassembling the machine, you put your V-belts on, you put your drum belt on first, you put your fan belt on second. When you're tensioning this up, after you get these tight, when you're tensioning up the unit, you can actually run the machine, turn the screw, and you'll see a vibration. You'll see 2 points of vibration. One, it'll start to minimize, and then it'll be real steady. And then if you over tighten it by continuing to turn it, it'll start vibrating again. There's that nice medium section of tightness to looseness. Is that a word? Looseness? That you'll get, and you'll find that that's about a 1/4 of an inch of deflection. So that's really it for the V-belts. The idler pulley.
On Instagram Live,
Yeah.
how do you remove the upper roller?
Yeah, I'm actually going to do that right now.
Awesome.
All right. We'll remove the top roller. We're also going to remove the drum on this, just so that you can see it.
Do you want to turn the machine on?
We'll do it. We'll do it later. Yeah, that way we're not getting all loud in the beginning. So that's it. I'm just going to tighten this up. I'm only going to hand tighten that for now. And actually, I need that off to get the top roll around. So the top roller, we want to have the belt off. That is the sanding belt off. And if anybody doesn't understand what the top roller is, this is the top roller right here, and this is the top roller mechanism, and this is the tensioning screws that help adjust the tracking on the paper. So, and these are guide rollers. There's one on the inside out. So you'll see this whole thing, and I'll go over the unit when I take it out. And these are all wear items. These are all spinning. If you're sanding a floor, you could be sanding 5-7 hours a day. So my top roller unit is compressed, right? That's down. And I'm going to take the handle off. This unscrews. And that's the other one. This third nut, you can see that your wrench won't fit in there. You could probably sneak it in there. That's how you end up stripping them out. You want to come through here. And if you're in the field and you don't have a little jig like this, I'm in our repair shop right now. So I have everything that you could possibly imagine to fix this machine right now. But you could use a box wrench for this. You just flip it over the other side and you can turn it. You can use a pair of channel locks, anything. So you want to get this. And all the grease fittings on this machine that were on it 15 years ago are pretty much gone. All the bearings are sealed. There used to be Zerk fittings in here. And Okay. So once you have it out, obviously the paper's off and it's depressed. You can just pull it off. So, just for demonstration. So that's the top roller. This is the whole mechanism. It's mounted to the machine on this side, and it's machined flush. This unit is new. It used to be welded here. If you have a welded unit, you hand me that old linkage, Mike. You'll have linkage that looks like this. All right. Now Lagler made this change several years ago. You could see it was welded construction, pieces, multiple moving pieces. This would get oblonged, so you wouldn't be able to get your paper off, even when you compress the top roller system. So, these kinds of things, like anything else, they made it better. It's casted now. It's all one piece. They have a laminated linkage unit in here for strength. Again, everything about the unit has been made better. When you are working on your unit, there's a good chance this is going to be filled up with dust and compacted, so that when you go to compress to put a belt on or take a belt off, it's going to be real difficult. What that's going to end up doing is spread these linkages apart, and essentially it'll end up ruining them. So that's why we always say blow the machine out. The last thing you want to do at the end of the day, I get it, is blow your machine out or take care of your equipment before you put it back. You just want to get home. But it's probably the smartest thing you can do. Take the dust bag off, empty it, take the tension off the belt, and blow the machine out. If you blow the machine out, I promise you, your life of your top roller unit will be increased significantly. These are wear items. This is where we see the most wear. These units from belts that don't track right get cut through here and here. Poorly tracking belts can't really cut in here, but I've seen these get cut because the machines are running with the top roller compressed instead of extended. So again, this is probably the most maintenance on the machine, and it's right here, and this is what you just need to keep clean. So that's the top roller mechanism. If you have this style, it's just an older unit. So I'm just going to reassemble it. Then we're going to take the drum off. Actually, I can take the drum off now. It's a left-handed nut. So we're going to take, can you hand me that mallet, Mike? I usually do this with the top roller on and a piece of sandpaper on. So hopefully it doesn't make a liar out of me. But it should come off pretty easily. So I put the drum on the ground and there we go. And that's, so you can see that's a fine thread. There's a shoulder cut into that so it won't ever seize. It's just good machining all around, but that's what you get from Germany. It's a fine thread, and again, it's left-handed. So in the field, you're going to hit the handle of your wrench towards the floor and the front of the machine.
The opposite of righty-tighty,
Yeah,
lefty-loosey.
it is totally the opposite. Now, I know there's not a whole lot of guys that are machinists or anything like that, but this slide fit is probably one of the most impressive things about this piece of equipment. And I know it's new, but even on an old machine, we rarely ever have to put a pry bar back here with the machine flipped over to get a drum off. They just slide off. It is just really well machined, and that shaft is spot on for a slide fit. So if anybody cuts right to left, left to right, showing you this inside here, you can see all the support for this machine and this drum is on the left side of the machine. This right wheel is traveling behind this drum on cut wood, which is why they want this wheel always traveling on cut wood. So you're going to cut with this machine as opposed to the Americans that have both wheels behind the machine or behind the drum. You want to cut with this machine left to right. So it's always traveling on cut wood. So this is the drum. I'm going to slide it back on, and then we're going to move up to the table. And I want to show you two things about this top roller and this drum that are really important. So I'm just going to line this up.
Your wrench is back in there.
Got it.
Back in the sleeve.
And you do not have to go crazy putting that nut back on. Because it's a fine thread, all you'll do is cross it and ruin it. You really do just have to make sure it's tight. I don't know what the foot-pounds of torque. There isn't any of that. It's just a wrench. And then top roller, again, it's compressed, makes it easy to get it in. Do it this side here. Go. That's that. And then also remember when you're putting these screws in and you're tightening up with the wrench, that's cast aluminum. That top roller mechanism is cast aluminum. These are steel screws. You will strip them out if you over tighten them. Again, we just need to go tight. We don't have to go crazy here. Just tight enough. That's it. All right. And then we'll put a belt on. But I want to come up here. I just want to show you two designs of this top roller and drum that are really important. And you're actually going to see it witnessed in the cut when I sand with this machine. But we have to get in close here. This drum is convex. So the middle is higher than the ends, and I hope we can get that. There's daylight on the left and the right. Don't know if you can see that or not. And that daylight on the left and the right is important for the Hummel machine. And it's the same for the top roller unit. That top roller unit, you see my straight edge rocking a little bit? And that lets centrifugal force get these belts tracking properly. You start to lose that crown on either one of these, and you're going to start having paper track crazy. So the thickness of the top roller, you know, what we see normally is a lot of wear. If your paper starts tracking in or out, a lot of times what we'll see is the one side start to wear thin, and it's because you're adjusting your spring mechanism to push up on the paper to bring it back in. When you do that, you start wearing off this side. Can you flip it? You can. You're going to have to readjust again. So this is probably one drum that we do not dress here in the shop when we put a new one on. We try to keep that original crown as much as we can so that the tracking isn't an issue for you when you get a new drum. All right. Oh, and there are balance weights on these. Yeah, this is a balance weight. They used to use a lead weight that was glued on. They changed it, but I would say that these are really these are precision balanced. And if you get a drum that's out of balance, if you get a drum that's loaded in there with dust, remember saying about blowing out the machine, That's why you want to blow out the machine. You're going to get dust in there. It'll get caked in there. The dust has finish on it. It has all kinds of stuff. It'll make it out of balance, and the machine will vibrate, and then you won't have a nicely sanded floor. So we are going to put a belt on that, and we're going to sand with it. And I'll show you how to track it. The directions for tracking the belt are on the inside of your dust cover. And you definitely want this on there. 2 reasons. 1 is safety, right? The belt flying out. 2 is dust pickup. This makes the Hummel really, really good at picking up dust. This should be on the machine. So, pretty easy. So I have on here 60 grit. Now again, this is right out of the crate, so we'll show that. That's their quick multi-clip. It's actually pretty nice. Okay. So you see that we have the cable open here. We do current draw. We do all kinds of readings from this. That's why we have this spliced here, just in case you were wondering. Okay, so on the Hummel, there is 0. There's a test spot. There's working and a start. What is working and start? Start is engaging the start capacitor that's in here. There's a starting capacitor and a running capacitor. The start engages the start winding, gets the machine right up to speed quick. Once it's up to speed, it's your job to release. It's spring loaded, so it's spring loaded to come back, and then it's what we call in working. If you use the test, where are you going to use the test? You're going to use the test to check your belt, make sure it's not vibrating too much on the V belts, the drive belts, and also to check the tracking on your sanding belt. So we're going to do that now. So this is the test mode. So we should be, I'll bring it out a little bit. We're going to loosen the nut back up here and turn this screw clockwise. And what that's going to do is take that top roller, bring it down, and let the paper track out. Easy. Okay. There we go. So it's a 10mm wrench. That's that wrench there. There we go. So all I'm doing is just loosen that nut. Just going to turn that just a little bit. See where we're at. It is a castle nut underneath here, so it's not going to come off on you. You can see how that belt is tracked out about 1/8 of an inch. it was flush with the edge. The drum, the belts are 7 7/8, and the drum, I'll flip it over. Actually, I want to flip it over right now. Actually, grab me a belt, standing belt, hold one. And you can see that the drum is smaller. Now I have it even on both sides here. You can see the drum is smaller than the edge of the paper. And there's a reason for that. They want a soft edge on the paper. So if you saw that, the way that was tracking out of the box, it was flush up against the edge of this drum, which could potentially leave a line in the floor. So we're just leaving this so that this is a soft edge. We'll tighten that back up. So the cover's on, so now we can take a look over here. Belt's tracking. So now we'll take a look at these belts, and we're going to start it up full. It's going to get loud. Now you can't feel it, but there's hardly any vibration on that. The movement of the belt is pretty minimal, so these belts are set where they should be. Alright. So we're just going to sand and we'll see how the wheels are. The last thing we'll do is wheel leveling. But I want to sand and see how it looks first. See if we have to level the wheels. So and then we always, whenever we're messing with the belt, whenever we mess with the wheels, any configuration on the machine, we always want to test it and see how it's sanding, get an idea of hard edges, are we leaving any lines, that kind of thing. So, this is sanding nicely. That was a brand new belt, so you'll get to see some of the, I don't know if this will show up, but you can kind of see clear shadows of unsand, like there's no dust on the outsides here. It's because that crown on that drum was here, and you can see that where the paper is sanded on the floor, but on the edges it was soft. So that's what I want to see when I'm setting up the Hummel. That's a good cut. That can go out to the customer without any issues. So we're going to take a look at the wheels next. So I'm going to flip the machine over, unplug her. So, yeah, I have one here. So Lagler supplies this wheel leveling tool, and essentially what it does is it measures one side, it's essentially the permanent side, and you transfer that measurement to the other side. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So the wheel with the arrow mark, really funny. Like this is the lateral wheel that's permanent in its position. This doesn't move at all. There's a set screw in here, and the wheel shaft has a detent in it. So that set screw goes through and allows you, I'm sorry, this one does, and allows you not, you can't move it. This wheel with the arrow on it is the one that you move. So the black mark arrow, and I always chuckle thinking that in a year is going to be gone. But we have machines that come in here 25 years old and that mark is still there. It amazes me. But if you're ever in doubt, just look back here, and if you see a set screw, then the set screw one is your permanent wheel, the other one is the one you move. So what I'm going to do is I take a measurement, and you can see the chassis here, how it's not painted green right here. That is been milled in a machine shop at a milling machine so that it's perfectly flat. This side is exactly as flat as this side, and this height is the same as this height. So I could take this tool and set these two flats right on it. Take the adjusting screw and just, kind of kiss the top of that wheel. Right, and then I usually hold that and then lock this in. And then I transfer that over to this side, and I have the same measurement. So these wheels, but we knew that because we sanded with the floor. But if you ever take your machine out of the van and you bump it or drop it, this wheel could get hit up, and you need to reset them. This wheel, this is the rear caster, does not get reset. It's permanent the way that is. I think that's all I got.
Covered everything.
Yeah, this is on a cam. So if you loosen this nut, again with a tool from your kit, you're gonna counterclockwise on that. You don't have to go crazy. It's gonna loosen. Matter of fact, if you loosen up too much, it's gonna fall down. This wheel's just gonna fall in there. You want to bring it up. Just use your tool, set it, and then bring the wheel up to it. It's that easy, and it works. So, if you ever have issues with how the machine is sanding, the first two places I go are these belts, the drive belts, and then the second place are these wheels. Then I look at the drum, I look at the top roller, the control linkage, all of the things that interact with how that sandpaper is contacting the floor. Those are the starting points of where you may have some issues.
The only other thing is that there is a spring here that is used for tension on the wheel cage.
Now this is set at the factory for pounds of pressure, and I say that because I'm going to flip the machine over and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But the contact point of this drum to the floor and the pounds of pressure, they're set by the factory. And I don't think you should mess with them at all. If you feel like you need more pressure, you should get down a grit or two. But that's it there. You've got fine, medium, and heavy. It's in German, but you kind of get the idea. The lower position here is the heaviest poundage on the drum, so most aggressive cut, and then the next, that's medium, and then that's fine. And that can also go for your paper. Medium grit, heavy grit, or coarse grits, and fine paper. So pace yourself accordingly. The books that come with this machine talk about grip progression, and your pace that you walk with is real important on these. So if you come into a situation, the Hummel's dust pickup is fantastic. It's really, really good. And a lot of the sanders today have really good dust pickup. If you need to go to a unit or a job specification that says you have to be dust free, these units from Oneida fit into this stack. Maybe we could do that on a separate Facebook Live, because that requires taking the handle assembly off of the Hummel, putting it on here, and then using the Vortex from Oneida. So we could probably do that at a later point. But that's a substitute dust handle, control rod, everything fits. Safety on and off switch still hooks in, and that makes the unit dustless. All right.
So to summarize,
Yeah, I think that's it. I
the
got
Hummel
this all.
put together.
Right.
And but one of the things with the Hummel is, you want to sand from the left to the right because the wheels are offset. The Hummel setup should be that the drum is set flat. That is, you want to have it. You don't want to fade on this drum. It's meant to cut flat, meaning equal sanding dust should load that belt uniformly, as Joe was showing you, on top of the sander. And then, the other is just blow the machine out after each use and empty the dust bag. From a standpoint, dust is possibly flammable depending on certain conditions. Dust has been known to spontaneous combust, so you want to make certain that you don't leave a full dust bag in your van, after sanding all day. Great machine.
Any questions? I'll hang here and you can ask them. Maintenance questions on this unit. Again, if you have any ideas for future Facebook Live, be sure to let us know. There's a lot to this industry, and with this Facebook Live, we're really just touching the surface. So just let us know what you'd like to see. We'll continue to do some of these new products, equipment, unboxings, that kind of thing, just because that's how you're going to have to fix it in the field. For sure, this is probably one of the easiest machines to work on out in the field and not have to have a machine shop. So that's all I got.